What color is your raft? I woke up this morning and these pictures just came and I said, Jeff, can you put those up? So that's myself and my brothers. We all have our different colored rafts. And then that's me and that's my brother Rob, who's the daredevil, always has been, always will be. What color is your raft? The key to this, as you look at this, this was the 1970s, Stone Harbor in New Jersey, Jersey Shore. And does anyone else remember those kind of rafts? Yeah, so they didn't have the boards then. They had the rafts. So what's interesting about these rafts, so I love my little one, but you just couldn't ride waves on the little one, so I would use Rob's. But what's interesting about those rafts is why I don't use them anymore, is they're made of air. So if you had a really strong wave, they would kind of bend, and you'd fall over. And so they weren't sturdy rafts. And so the question is, we're asking this idea of what color is our raft. First, we want to look at how sturdy is our raft? And to go back to the original point, I forget, I sent my email. A raft is imagery used in Buddhism. And they use it as it's the vehicle that helps you cross your states of consciousness from your finite state of consciousness to your infinite state of consciousness. And you have to cross this river. That's their metaphor. From one shore where your identity is your body, mind, history to the shore of the infinite nature of your being. And the question is, what is that vehicle that's going to help you make that shift? And it's got to be a vehicle that is sturdy, that's going to last through all of life's ups and downs. It's not, if you're just jumping from one raft to another, you might not get very far. And certainly if the storms get too big, the raft's going to fall over, or you might get bored with your raft, or you may not like your raft. You're on a raft, but it doesn't really resonate with you. That happens more than maybe you have experienced that. So the question is, when we first look at what is the vehicle for you to make this shift and transformation, and it's a continual shift, it's not a one-time deal, it's something that we're doing our entire life. As long as we're in the physical body, we're making this shift of consciousness. It might get more and more subtle as we go, but there's still those shifts that are happening all the time. Is the vehicle, the raft that we're on, sturdy enough and strong enough, and is it the right vehicle for us to make this shift? In terms of the sturdiness, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to really look at the world's religions this year. Because the thing with the world's religions is they have a lot of depth. They've been around for thousands of years. They've sturdied the test of time. And we're in a age where everything is available to us, and there's so much new stuff happening, quote unquote, new stuff happening, and spiritually progressive ideas and new age type stuff that we don't use that term anymore, but it's all this sort of a lot of new spirituality, it seems. But as we study and start opening to the new spirituality, we start realizing its roots have deep roots. And it's nice to know what those roots are. Because if something is just created in a moment in time and it doesn't have a past, then it's probably not very universal. It's not very eternal. It's going to be something that comes and goes. So on your journey, are you on a vehicle that's just brand new and has never tested the waters yet? Or is there some depth to your raft? Do you know that the principles that are holding up your raft are going to maintain and sustain you through the incredible storms that will happen through these shifts of consciousness? Because there are incredible storms that happen in the shifts of consciousness. It's rarely nice and peaceful like that. Like I was avoiding the waves there. He just jumped right in to the waves, right? I think of when I took this integral theory class. It was online, and we had learning partners. And my learning partner was from Dublin, Ireland. And he was a Buddhist. And I've talked about before, I did a month of silence. He did far beyond that. He just spent so much time by himself, and I can't even remember the Buddhist text that he was going through, but he was going through a Buddhist text, and and I've heard about it before from the integral folks, it's very methodical. If you do this practice, you'll start developing this state of consciousness, and then you go to the next, once you achieve this state of consciousness, then you do this next practice, and it's very scientific. And it's laid out, and thousands of years people have been practicing this very concise, detailed practice that will help you on your vehicle across the state of consciousness, this river to an infinite state of consciousness. And he was very committed to this practice of, that was his vehicle, of Buddhism, of this particular, I can't remember anymore, it was a particular Buddhist text that he was following for years. That was his way of transforming his consciousness. And that's when I recognized that's different than sort of what's new today, what's the new fad. It's like things come and go, but he was steady, he was clear. So the question is, what I'm inviting us to look at is, what is your vehicle for shifting? Can you clarify it to yourself? Can you articulate it to yourself? Is it vague, or is it a clear vehicle for you? Is this a vehicle that you use so when the times get rough, you know that this vehicle is solid and it's going to support you through those rough times? And you can describe what that vehicle is, and you know that it's laid in something that's real, that's eternal, that the things that come and go, the storms that come and go, but this vehicle that you have is eternal. So sturdiness of your vehicle. That's the first thing we want to look at on what color is your raft. The second one is, what color is your parachute? Because it just popped in my head, what color is your parachute? How many people have read or heard of what color is your parachute? Yeah, most of you. So it's amazing. It was published in 1970, and since 1975, he has revised, the author Bowl, he has revised it every single year since 1975. So it's for the last 43 years, he's revised it every year. So now he's working on technology. And the idea of what color is your parachute is that we should have a job, since we spend so much time at our work, it's a major part of our life. We want work that we enjoy, that excites us, and that matches what we are good at. So in what color of your parachute, I actually did do all the exercises years ago, and it does. It's to try to find out, what am I good at? What are your skills? What are your talents? And what do you enjoy doing? And matching those two things up. Our spiritual path is even more important than our job. Our jobs are important. What we do, because we spend so much time at it, are important. But even more of that is our spiritual journey, because it encompasses everything. It encompasses our job, our relationships, our finances, our inner life, our outer life, everything about us, our health, our emotions. So have we spent that much time looking at who we are and what our vehicle is? Does it match who we are? Does it match what kind of person I am? If we don't enjoy our spiritual practices, that's when it feels like work. That's when it feels like discipline. When we align with it, it feels right on. I think of my brother Rob there, very physical guy, always has been, loves sports. And as he began, he wanted to get his health better. And what drew him to yoga was how the cool stuff that people did, the cool moves. And he's like, I want to do that. So it was the physical aspect that drew him into yoga, and from that, he's become a yoga teacher. He chants kirtan, he meditates, he's gone into the whole spiritual. We suddenly are doing the same thing, my brother and I, but he did it through the physical path, because that's where he found his energy, and that's his light. He found effortlessly exactly where he belonged. It was his vehicle, and who he is an exact fit. Since then, he's tried other vehicles. He tried Zen, he did a mindfulness meditation class. But from the beginning, he was very lucky. He found his right vehicle. He found his right raft to carry him through storms. Although he saw that picture and he said, well, just tell everyone life is just as much chaos now as it was then. But yoga helps me through. The problem is when we don't know who we are and what we care for, we don't know what we enjoy. There's a guy named Jeffrey Martin, and unfortunately, he's just beginning this research, so it's not fully out yet, but I think it's going to be a huge gift to the world when he does finish his research. Because what he discovered for himself, he learned a meditation technique early on in his life, and he kept practicing it and practicing it and practicing it. Wasn't getting very far in it, and he didn't like it particularly, but he felt like this is what you do if you want to wake up spiritually, practicing it. And about, I can't remember, he said it was quite a long time, 10 or 15 years later, someone introduced him to another meditation practice that fit him to a T. And he said, I just wasted so much time. I kept trying to do this practice, and it never worked. And then when I found this different meditation practice, it was like fitting a glove. And the research that he is now doing is how to in essence, a more complicated version, because it's using biotech, how people, who you are, to align you with your right meditation practice, to find what your personality is according to, in aligning it with a spiritual practice. So I have a friend who also is having health challenges, and his doctor wanted him to start meditating to help him with his stress, and he took up, the doctor only knew of TM. That was what the doctor was associated with, or it was a version of TM, Transcendental Meditation. So my friend started doing Transcendental Meditation, went to these retreats, and he was an atheist, still is an atheist. He was doing it solely for health benefits. And I don't know if you've ever, how many have you, I know TM's pretty big. How many of you have been trained in TM? A few of you? Yeah. So it's very simple, just basically saying a mantra. You can go further on, but the basic entry level, you pay money, they give you a mantra, you say it 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And they're very good at making, people are very disciplined with it when they start it. You just, so my friend does it twice a day. And I knew, I don't like to give advice, so I didn't give any advice. And I live on the opposite end of the country now, so I just kept my mouth shut. But I'm like, that is the wrong meditation practice. That's not who you are. It's great, TM is great for certain people, but it doesn't fit you and your personality. This person's great at sports. They have effortless time getting into the zone, and their just entire being is very calm, they don't get wavered. They just sort of this witnessing. I'm like, mindfulness meditation, it fits you like a glove. You already do it. I didn't say that. In my head, I'm thinking it would be so great. So finally, 3 years later, I just told them, and they never responded, and I felt I was giving them for unasked for advice. But it's hard to watch because I could see the meditation practice didn't fit the person. So that goes back to what color is your raft, what color is your parachute. Looking at your spiritual practices right now is one of the reasons why you don't do them is because you don't like doing them, because it doesn't bring you joy, or you don't feel like it's benefiting you. You're doing them because you should, or because a teacher told you should, but you're not feeling any benefit from it. You don't feel like it's making you any more awake. It's not helping you cross the river. You're on this raft, this vehicle, but it's not really moving along. Pay attention to that. There's a reason why you don't like doing certain things, and there's a certain reason why other things do. What is your vehicle? What is your raft for shifting your consciousness? And it's going to have multi-dimensions. That's the other part of being alive today. It's not just one religion or one path. We're all introduced to so many paths. This is one of the challenges of our teaching, actually, because we teach universal truth principles, which you can find in every religion and philosophy. In mathematics, you can find it everywhere. Poetry, art, music. So it basically opens up the entire world to us, and we have to decide, what is my vehicle? In the old days, you were just sort of, here, this is your vehicle. The choices were limited. The more and more choices we have, the harder it is. In fact, I think I might have mentioned this before. I just think it's interesting that women reported being much happier in the in the 1950s than they did in the 1980s. And the reason why is because in the 1980s, they have way more choices, and it was harder to make, with all those options, you're always deciding, am I on the right choice? Am I making the right choice? Thus, the success of what color is your parachute. We have to make those choices. In the 1950s, women had less choices, so their reporting of happiness was higher, and I think most of us would prefer to have more choices, but we want to make right choices that fit our personality. What color is your raft? Who are you? Know who you are, explore who you are, and you start finding, where do I fit? Where is my path? So how sturdy are the paths that you're looking at? Do they stand the test of time? Have they been around? Not even, the path can be new, but relying on principles that are ancient, that are eternal, that have been reported for thousands of years. That's where we want to go. We want to have something that shows that it lasts through all of history. So how sturdy is it, and what color is it? What's the form that I vibrate with? Who am I? You have to know who you are in order to find that. And then the last one, that what color the parachute is, and I was trying to make the connection, is networking. And what I see that as, so the author of What Color is Your Parachute did not believe in just blanketing the world with resumes, but in fact getting to know people, going up and talking to the employer or the people at the business, making it relational. And that's true also with our spiritual practices and with our vehicles. You can't just read about it. You can't just hear about it in a lecture or a talk, even if a motivational speaker gets you all inspired. There has to be a direct connection between you and this path. So my friend who was doing TM, and I see them much working with mindfulness, they didn't have much experience. They weren't out networking with other paths. The doctor who recommended TM, that's the only path the doctor knew was TM, so he gave him the TM. And since there's scientific results with TM, just assumes that it universally works equally with everybody. So our job is to explore, to network, to get out there and try these different paths, not just read books about it, not just hear ideas about it, but to actually practice them. And we'll know, we start listening, and this is where our inner guide becomes so important. So when I was in college, I took an East Asian religion class. We learned Hinduism first, didn't care for it much. It was interesting. The guy was entertaining, the teacher. But the way he taught Hinduism was primarily with the mythology of Hinduism, like Ganesha and the Lakshmi and all the sort of mythological characters that are in Hinduism that all represent something, which is cool. I just didn't resonate with it. And then we did Buddhism, and we did a 10-page paper, and I picked Zen Buddhism, Nine-Headed Dragon River, I think was the book. I barely remember that, but I didn't have any sense. I mean, we weren't guided to here's your personality. There's intuition. And after I did the report, I had this expansion, and the Zen Mind Beginner's Mind book really appealed to me on this long list of books, and I got it. And as many of you know, I still have the book. It's a primary book. I have a shelf just of my primary books, and Zen Mind Beginner Mind is one of those primary books in my spiritual shelf that I've had now for over 30 years. Something in me knew, but we have to get to know it. Then we start practicing Zen. And then I, later on, felt a connection with Yogananda, who taught me a different type of Hinduism than I had learned earlier. So all these different pieces start coming together. We're learning the world's religions this year, but there's so many facets. Most of you have a Christian background. You know how many facets there are to Christianity. To try to teach Christianity in all of its different facets, you can't do. So the only thing that we can do then is trust this infinite intelligence that's within us. They say when we're ready, the teacher will come. For me, the teacher is the vehicle. The vehicle is that path that's going to carry us and help us shift our states of consciousness from this finite state to the infinite state. And the more we are longing for that, the more we are longing to wake up, those vehicles that are going to suit our personality are going to start revealing themselves. It is going to mean that we're going to also say no to a lot of paths too. There's so many paths available. I'm amazed how many things are coming at me all of the time that I need to do in order to find myself. And I have to say, no, I'm getting clearer and clearer what my vehicle is, what my path is. So it takes strength. If you want to actually shift a state of consciousness, eventually you're just going to have to start saying no to a lot of other rafts that are trying to call your attention. There's a lot of different colored rafts there. You have to just say no and get clear on what yours is and stick with it. So there becomes an inner authority. You're the chief executive officer of your spiritual journey to know what your path is. So then I found Science of Mind, New Thought first, and that's important because I found New Thought and then Science of Mind, and that was a big difference because I love basically what we teach in by the way, Centers for Spiritual Living is Science of Mind, and what we teach is New Thought. However, I went to a independent New Thought church originally, and all of it was great. We read Marianne Williamson, we read this World's Religions book, we read all the New Thought, Deepak Chopra, all the latest stuff, but I couldn't figure out how it all connected. It didn't, all the individual classes were really cool, but I couldn't get the whole picture. And it wasn't until I came into Science of Mind specifically, where for me this teaching is so clear. What Ernest Holmes does is so straightforward and simple that once I got that, then I could start integrating how all these pieces fit together. And so I loved Science of Mind. Hence, I'm a minister in Science of Mind. And there was always this piece missing. So I had Hinduism, I had Buddhism, I had my Hindu teacher, my Buddhist teacher. And I love science of mind. I love this chart, by the way. So what we're going to do, by the way, the theme for this year is Universal Truth Principles in the World's Religions. In May, we're going to really look at what the universal truth principles are, because that sometimes is vague. Even after I'd been in classes for years, someone said, Harriet, just practice the principles. And I looked at them, I'm like, what does that even mean, practice the principles? So we're just going to look at it, make it as clear, and as Ernest Holmes does, it's very simple, but we're going to spend May also with Confucius, but at the same time looking, I may even teach a little bit of that chart. We're going to talk about affirmative prayer. So all the things that you might hear me reference and you haven't been in classes, we're going to go through that in May. All of it is wonderful, and everything that I was learning was wonderful. But there was this one element that I couldn't put for my raft, for my vehicle, which is this love that I had for Jesus. And I was embarrassed by it, because it seemed like it felt less than, in my mind, it felt less than what I was learning in Science of Mind. Science of Mind was too progressive, it was too evolved. We know that we are the Christ presence, we know that we are one with pure spirit, we don't need to be devotional anymore. But I had this devotional part of myself that wasn't getting fulfilled. And as much as I loved Yogananda and Shinro Suzuki, I did not feel devotional towards them as teachers. And so I had to, actually it's happened as I've been a minister, allowing myself to open to that doorway, of allowing that presence also on my raft, and realizing how that was sort of a central, column, pillar for my raft, was this love I had for Jesus Christ. And I also have to say this. So in New Thought, we say Jesus the Christ, because we talk about it's the Christ principle that's universal and it's in everybody. At the same time, that's just like another interpretation. When you say Suzuki Roshi, Roshi is an honorific title. You don't say Suzuki the Roshi. When you say Ji, like Yogananda Ji, Ji is an honorific title. You don't say Yogananda the Ji. So I've just stopped taking the, for those of you who are traditional Science of Mind people, I've stopped taking the out. I just say Jesus Christ. Because to me it's an honorific title, and it's worthy of the being that walked this planet called Jesus. Anyways, these are little things that evolve in my little raft. As I've gone, I've learned what my raft is that carries me across this state of consciousness, and I've had to own it. See, that's the other thing. We can't do whatever the latest. When I was at Agape, everybody was doing mindfulness meditation. Reverend Michael's main practice is mindfulness meditation. It's extraordinary. I've been in his presence when it's just the two of us, and taken into vast states of consciousness by being in his presence, and I love it, but it wasn't my vehicle. And that was something I really had to come to terms with, the fact that my main teacher and all the people around me were practicing this vehicle, but it wasn't my vehicle. So we have to become very strong in knowing what color is our parachute. Who am I? What is my vehicle that's transforming my state of consciousness? And I know if you're in this room, it's because you've looked at many paths, you've hopefully experienced, you've networked, you've reached out and actually practiced other paths, and you start resonating with, here's the place where I find home. This is what and you know it when you know it when you know it. It's not like you struggle. It's like, this is home. Oh, and this piece is home. I can't leave that piece out. And then we start creating this wonderful, beautiful, multicolored, radiant raft of light that's our vehicle of transformation. And we know that it's sturdy. It's going to last us because it now matches our interior world. It makes sense with who we are as unique individual, this particular raft, and it's going to carry us. And we're strong in that raft. We allow it to carry us through the life's journey, because it all resonates. And I believe, I was thinking about this because in Houston Smith's book, The World's Religion, as he's talking about the rafts, this imagery that Buddhism uses, that when you get to the other side, when you get to that infinite state of consciousness, you no longer need a raft, and you let the raft go. And I was thinking about that because I've heard that before. So whatever your main vehicle is for transformation, ultimately you have to let go of it. And I thought the way I would put it is a little bit different, is that the raft becomes us. There's no separation. It's because to even push it away means that it's separate. what we're doing as we're traveling on this raft, this vehicle of transformation, is we're becoming the raft. The raft in us, that separation is dissolving, and we become the raft until we are that infinite nature. And that raft is an aspect of who we are. It's not all that we are. The infinite nature includes everything. But it's certainly a main integral piece of our unique expression when we say we are, each and every one of us, unique. The raft that we've been traveling, this unique vehicle that we've been traveling, is part of our unique expression in this world. So our vehicle and our uniqueness are completely intertwined. Does that make sense? So the invitation this week is just to look at how sturdy is your raft? How sturdy is the vehicle of transformation that you're using on your spiritual journey? Is it strong? Are you committed to it? I haven't even talked about commitment, but you're not going to cross that river if you're not committed to your vehicle. If you're not committed to your raft and traveling it, you're not going to get very far. So how sturdy is your raft, and how committed are you to your raft? What color is your raft? How is it, all the different shapes, sizes, beauty, colors? Is it fitting all the dynamic shapes, beauties, all the multidimensional aspects of your being? We're multidimensional beings, so your raft's going to be multidimensional, have many. Is it match? Is there a flow? And if there's places that's missing, that's where the networking comes. The third point is, are there other places that I need to work on, to practice, to reach out, to try new experiences? Not instead of, if there's things that I already like. I love affirmative prayer that we do here in Science of Mind. There's a meditation practice. I like all those things, but there's still something missing. Then I need to go out and network and start exploring to add on to my vehicle. Not to cut off, but to add on and integrate, to make my vehicle a whole picture, a whole being. So sturdiness and commitment. Does it fit my personality? The color, what color is my parachute? And do I need to network? Do I need to reach out and have different experiences because there's something that still doesn't feel quite fulfilled in the vehicle that I'm on right now on my journey? There's like a little holes in my raft that need to be filled. Okay? Y'all with me? All right. How fun is that? All right. Well, let's pray. Let's feel that interior world. Just want to say how grateful I am to be with all of you. Because this service and this community is part of my vehicle, it's part of my raft, and it's an essential part of my raft. I hope it's essential to your raft. And it's so wonderful just to let everything go. To know there's nothing which we need to hold on to. That this divine, infinite, and eternal presence is always already itself. We can never take away from it. We can never add on to it. It is simply always and forever being itself in each and every moment in time and space and beyond all time and space. It includes all of creation. It includes all of creation. There are no walls. There's no place where it stops and something else begins. It is pure, radiant, unconditional, unlimited, vast, oceanic love that vibrates and pulsates as every atom and cell of creation. It vibrates and pulsates as every galaxy and star and planet beyond our wildest imagination. So we let go of trying to wrap our mind around it, and we just allow this beingness, this divine cosmos, to pulsate and vibrate as our very life right here and right now. That each and every one of us is a magnificent, radiant light of pure spirit. All the cosmos is vibrating and pulsating within, through, and as us even now. We are not separate from anything. We are not separate from any point in time and space. We include all time and all space, all the past, all the futures, right here and right now. The kingdom of the divine presence, the kingdom of heaven, the Holy Mother, Father God, whatever we refer to, it is all within us now. It's inside of us now. Not inside our body, but inside our consciousness. The withinness of our consciousness contains the entire cosmos. And when we know this, we know there's nothing to fear. There's nothing that we need to hold on to out of fear of something bad happening. Because we are everything. There's nothing that we can ever be that is less than magnificent and infinitely beautiful. Today we came in with our intentions. We know that even now the divine cosmos, this kingdom of heaven, is answering those intentions in new ways that we weren't expecting. We allow these shifts to happen because we are unlimited, creative, and free in every possible way. And we receive from that unlimited, creative, and free expression that we are. We see anew, we feel anew. And I give thanks that even as we know this here and now, and we give thanks for this wonderful journey in time and space that we embody, that our human body minds experience on earth today in 2018, that we enjoy every aspect of it from the infinite and finite nature, this marriage of heaven and earth, and we allow ourselves to open to our perfect divine vehicle that is constantly our source, our anchor in helping us remember the magnificent truth of who we always already are. That the world is imposing all sorts of limited ideas, dualistic, small ideas of who we are, and we have this wonderful, beautiful gift of a vehicle that's been given to us before time began. It's our vehicle, it's our raft to carry us into remembering day after day, hour after hour, breath after breath, who we really are, all of the time, that we are already whole, perfect, and complete. We are already enough. We are already healed. We are already loved. We are already the peace that passes all human understanding. We are already the bliss, the joy, the creativity, the abundance, the joy, the freedom. We are it now. That is the gift that this vehicle is bringing to us day after day after day. What a gift. What a gift. And this is who we are today, now, and always. We claim and know this collectively in this beautiful room, in this beautiful space right here and right now. And we stand in that consciousness for all life, in all communities, for this nation, for this planet. We stand for the truth that the wholeness and the perfection of pure spirit is all that there has ever been and ever will be. We keep our consciousness raised. We keep our consciousness awake. We allow ourselves to continue to say yes to the magnificent beings that we are in every moment. And as we say yes to this and feel it, not through effort, not through force, not through will, but feel what already is been given. It's already been given. Right now, it's already given. We just can't help but say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Thank you, infinite and eternal one. Thank you, divine presence of light and love and joy and peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. These gifts are unending, pouring forth in our life even now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's nothing but gratitude. It's all that is left. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And deep and abiding peace and everlasting joy, I release this word. We release this word into the law of life, knowing that as it is spoken, it is done. And I invite us all to say together, and so it is. Amen.